The sky was a bruised pale gray, still heavy with the scent of the first rains. The red earth of the savannah had softened overnight, drinking greedily after months of dust. Anna Morgan walked slowly along the path that skirted the edge of her property, boots sinking slightly with each step, her cane making soft impressions in the damp soil. Kaya trotted ahead, nose to the ground, tail low and swaying. The Rhodesian Ridgeback no longer moved with the urgency of her younger years. But today there was something steadier in her gait, an alertness. As though she too felt the shift in the season, the way rain made the world both cleaner and more fragile. It had been 6 months since the accident, since the call in the middle of the night, since Anna buried her daughter. Time had turned strange after that. Days moved like honey, nights pressed down like stone. She had stopped working, stopped answering calls from colleagues. From the Wildlife Rescue Foundation she'd once co-founded. She let the fences grow wild and the house grow quiet. Kaya was the only one who stayed close. Even after losing her own litter, 6 pups born too early. None strong enough to survive. Anna had watched it happen. Helpless. Both of them had bled in their own ways. She paused at the edge of a grove of marula trees, breathing in the petrichor. Kaya had gone still up ahead. Ears pricked. A low growl hummed in her chest. Anna's voice was steady but soft. "What is it, girl?" Kaya didn't bark. She didn't charge. She took 3 steps forward into the high grass. Then stopped, head tilted. That's when Anna heard it. A sound that didn't belong, fragile, rasping, too soft to be wind and too raw to be bird. A cry, no, too, like breath stretched into desperation, like pain barely old enough to speak. Anna's heart skipped. She pushed through the brush, steadying herself with the cane. The grass grew waist-high, wet against her pants. Kaya moved ahead, slow, ears twitching. Then, suddenly, Kaya stopped. She crouched low, not to pounce, but to wait. Anna parted the reeds. There, beneath a tangled thicket of thornbush and dry roots, lay 2 lion cubs, emaciated, mud-streaked, shivering. One was smaller, ribs visible beneath its fur, a gash on its flank. The other had a swollen paw and flies buzzing near its eyes. They couldn't have been more than 8 weeks old. Abandoned, injured, alone. Anna knelt, the cane slipping from her hand. 1,000 instincts surged back, clinical training, triage protocols, the quiet mental map of vital signs and critical thresholds. But none of them prepared her for what happened next. Kaya moved forward. Anna froze, reaching out instinctively. But Kaya wasn't stalking. She was lowering her body into the grass. Belly flat, tail still. She let out a whimper, high and soft. The smaller cub blinked slowly. And then, Kaya leaned in and licked its face. Once, gently, like she was washing one of her own. The cub let out a faint mewl, and Kaya made a quiet sound deep in her chest, something between a sigh and a hum. She moved to the second cub and did the same, nosing it gently, careful of its injured paw. Anna couldn't move. Her knees were damp, her breathing shallow, and her vision blurred. Not from rain. but from the sudden flood of tears that filled her eyes. She had seen wild things in her life, the charge of elephants, the stillness of death around a snare, the cracked ribs of animals too long lost to starvation. But this was different. This was two mothers, both broken. One had lost her cubs. The other two had lost their mother. And somehow, between species, between wounds, they had found each other. Kaya lay down beside them. The cubs didn't resist. They curled against her side, trembling slightly, too tired to fear. Kaya rested her head over them. Her body curved protectively. Anna wiped her eyes with the sleeve of her shirt. Then she stood, gathered her cane, and backed out of the grass. Her breath caught in her throat. But her hands were already moving, pulling out her phone, opening the emergency vet app she hadn't used in months. The signal was weak, but it pinged. She dialed anyway. The voice on the other end was groggy. "Peter," she said. "It's Anna." Silence. Then, "Anna, are you? I need your help. I've found 2 lion cubs. Abandoned. Injured. Near the north side of my farm. Alone, except for Kaya. And she's with him now." Peter paused. "I'm on my way." She hung up and knelt again, not caring about the mud soaking her jeans. Kaya raised her head and looked at her, ears flicking. "You're a better soul than me," Anna whispered. One of the cubs sneezed. A pitiful sound, and Anna reached over gently to place a hand near its side. Warm. Faintly trembling. There was life here, barely, but enough. And as the clouds shifted and a shaft of pale sunlight pierced the grass, Anna knew this moment wasn't just about survival. It was about something deeper, something lost and found. It was about grief folding into instinct, and instinct turning into mercy. Kaya closed her eyes. The cubs pressed in tighter, and Anna sat there with them, in the wet, whispering wind of the South African plain. As the earth turned quietly beneath her, witness to a fragile miracle growing in the wild. Would you like part 2? The Shelter Within next, where Anna and Peter try to save the cubs and reckon with the emotional layers unfolding between human, dog, and lion. Let me know how deep and dramatic you want it to go. The sun had barely risen when Anna pulled the old canvas crate from the storage shed. Dust clouded around her knees as she unfolded it, checking for mold, sharp edges, or anything that might harm a fragile body. Her fingers trembled, though not from age, from the decision she'd already made. She wasn't supposed to do this. Bringing wild animals into a private home, even orphaned ones, broke half a dozen conservation codes. She knew the regulations by heart. She'd helped write some of them years ago. But standing in her kitchen, clutching a pair of threadbare towels and staring down at 2 half-starved lion cubs on a heated pad, none of it mattered. What mattered were the names. "Leo," she whispered, brushing a finger under the bigger cub's chin. And Luma. The names had come to her like breath, soft and certain. Leo for his boldness, Luma for the glint of fight in her eyes. Names gave weight to life. And Anna wasn't going to let either of them slip away unnamed. She fed them by hand, small glass bottles filled with goat's milk warmed to just the right temperature. laced with a pinch of electrolytes and antibiotics. Kaya hovered nearby, tail still, eyes fixed on the cubs. She had not left their side since Peter helped bring them in yesterday afternoon. Anna hadn't slept much. She'd moved an old wooden crib into the laundry room, lined it with fleece blankets, and set up a small space heater. She took shifts with Kaya, but even when Anna dozed on the couch, Kaya stayed alert. If one of the cubs whimpered, Kaya would let out a soft whine and pace near the crib until Anna woke. That morning, Anna watched Kaya lean over the edge of the crib, nose twitching, then gently lick the top of Leo's head. The cub chirped, weak but content. She thinks they're hers, Peter had said when he visited that evening. And maybe they are. But it wasn't just Kaya. Anna needed him too. That truth hit her hardest 3 nights later. It had been a long day. The cubs fed every 3 hours. Leo was gaining weight steadily. More vocal, his small tail twitching with every feed. Luma, however, was fragile, always a little behind. Slower to nurse, sometimes drifting off mid-bottle with milk leaking from her mouth. Anna kept notes in a leather-bound journal. Day 5. Leo, stronger, eyes more focused. Luma, pale gums, low energy, urine output low, hydration levels a concern. That night, a storm rolled over the grasslands, loud, with flashing skies and wind that rattled the windows. Anna was in the living room when she heard it, a high-pitched yowl that cut through everything. She ran to the laundry room. Luma was convulsing, her body spasming on the blanket. Kaya was already in the crib, curled around the cub's tiny body, licking furiously at her back, her flanks, her face. She didn't bark, she didn't panic, she just worked, steady and instinctive. Anna dropped to her knees, hands trembling. "Come on, baby girl," she whispered, forcing herself to breathe. She reached for the emergency kit, prepped days ago, and administered subcutaneous fluids. The needle sliding under Luma's skin. A faint bubble formed. Kaya didn't flinch. She just kept licking, her own body pressed protectively around the cub. The seizure passed after 40 seconds. Anna checked her breathing, shallow, but present. She didn't leave the room. Not that night. Neither did Kaya. They stayed like that. Kaya curled around Luma. Anna sitting on the floor, one hand on the side of the crib, her face in her arm. And at some point before dawn, for the first time since her daughter's funeral, Anna wept. Not in silence, not in shame. Real, open sobs that cracked through her ribs like thunder. Years of tension, guilt, and grief poured out in gasps and tears. Not just for the child she lost, but for all the helpless things she tried to save and couldn't. And for these 2 small creatures who were somehow still breathing. Kaya raised her head at one point, watching her, then rested it on Anna's knee. In the days that followed, something changed. Anna began to move with purpose again. She found herself humming while sterilizing bottles. She set alarms for midnight and 3 a.m. feedings without complaint. She even pulled out an old wildlife medical manual and began charting the cub's progress like a case study. Leo began to chase Kaya's tail. Luma nuzzled at Anna's chin when she picked her up. Kaya, miracle of miracles, began to sleep only when they did. She'd lie beside the crib during the day, her ears twitching at the smallest whimper. At night, she'd rise gently and nuzzle the cubs back into place if they stirred. Her body had changed too. Her mammary glands had begun to swell slightly. As if her own body remembered what it meant to care. Anna knew the signs. She'd seen it once before, canine pseudopregnancy. Especially after the loss of a litter. But what Kaya was doing was more than instinct. It was love. One night, Anna sat at the kitchen table. Rain tapping against the windows. She opened her journal again. The ink from the last entry had smudged. She turned to a clean page. She stared at it for a long time. Then she wrote, "It's not that they need me. I need them." She closed the book and placed it beside the crib, where Luma slept curled against Leo's back. Both of them breathing in sync. Kaya stood watch beside them. And Anna, finally, let herself believe that perhaps she wasn't finished. That there were still lives she could help shape. Not through control, but through compassion. Outside, the rains came heavier, drumming the roof like a heartbeat. Inside, 3 survivors slept. Canine and lion, wild and tame, grief and healing, folded into one fragile, perfect family. Would you like part 3, Shadows and Whispers next? Where authorities begin to catch wind of the cubs. And Anna must decide how far she'll go to protect them. Or we can focus on the growing bond and the challenges of raising wild animals in secrecy. Just let me know the direction you want. The days rolled into weeks. And weeks into months. The rains gave way to sun and the ground dried to a warm golden crust. The thorn trees flushed with green again. And birdsong returned to the early mornings. Life on the farm beat with a new rhythm, one shaped not by silence, but by paws on floorboards, claws scratching wood, and the playful growls of 2 growing lions. Leo and Luma grew fast enough that Anna had to reinforce the porch railing after Leo broke it chasing a butterfly. They still drank formula in the mornings, now from larger bowls, and they still nestled with Kaya every night. But their limbs were longer, their movements sharper, their eyes gleamed with more alertness, their shoulders rolling with the first hints of a lion's gait. Except, they didn't always move like lions. Anna often watched them from the kitchen window, Leo mimicking Kaya's posture, tail wagging in awkward sync, as if he were a ridgeback pup instead of a predator. Luma learned to lie in the sun exactly how Kaya did, head resting on one paw, ears perked at birds. When Kaya barked at a passing truck, both cubs let out confused little yowls, then ran in her direction like backup. It was both ridiculous and beautiful. They'd become a trio. Anna started drawing again, charcoal sketches at first. Quick lines and shadows that captured movement. Then she pulled out old paints, jars clinking open on the kitchen table, and set to work. In one painting, Kaya dozed under a marula tree. Leo and Luma curled against her belly, their heads resting on her like newborn pups. Underneath the image, Anna scribbled, "Family doesn't have to match to be real." It was the first thing she'd created since her daughter died. But joy, Anna knew, always walked beside risk. It began with a knock on the gate one warm afternoon. Anna was tending to the herb garden when Kaya barked, a short, sharp warning. Leo and Luma were inside, napping after breakfast, but Kaya stood alert, tail stiff. Anna wiped her hands on a towel and opened the gate just wide enough to see a tall man in ranger uniform. Dusty boots, a clipboard under one arm. "Dr. Morgan?" he asked. "I'm Elias Quayu, local field ranger. We're following up on a report from last month." Anna kept her expression calm. "What sort of report?" "A lioness was found dead in a snare trap. About 10 kilometers north of here. Near the Imkata Ridge. Timing lines up with the storm period." Anna's heart ticked faster. Elias continued. "The carcass was too decomposed to salvage. But we noticed signs she might have been lactating. Her cubs were never found." He looked up, studying her face. "You spend time out on the land, don't you?" "I walk with my dog. Around the farm." "Have you seen anything unusual?" "Tracks. Scat. Remains?" Anna shook her head. "Not that I recall, but I wasn't looking closely at the time." "Understood. We're casting a wide net, just in case." He handed her a pamphlet. "If you hear anything, or if a cub shows up injured or sick, we have protocols in place. They're not meant to survive on their own." She nodded. "Of course." He smiled politely. "Thank you for your time." Anna watched him drive off, her fingers trembling around the gate handle. That night, she wrote in her journal, "They're looking now, not just for lions, but for signs of people hiding them." She didn't sleep, neither did Kaya. The following week, Kaya injured her leg. She slipped while jumping from the porch to chase a hornbill and landed awkwardly. Her back leg swelled within hours. And though she didn't whimper, Anna could tell she was in pain. Leo paced the hallway for hours, whining in confusion, but Luma, gentle, quiet Luma, pressed her body to Kaya's side and refused to leave. She slept next to her, licked her ears, nosed the injury like she could will it away. Anna, watching from the doorway, felt her throat tighten. There was no fear in Luma. No panic. Only devotion. The same kind her own daughter once showed when Anna sprained her wrist during a rescue in Botswana. The same unwavering stillness. The same need to protect. By morning, Kaya's swelling had reduced with compresses and anti-inflammatory meds. Luma finally left her side only to stretch and drink water, then returned immediately. Tail tucked under Kaya's chin. Anna painted the scene that evening. A lion cub curled around an injured dog, both sleeping on a patch of sunlit floor. She didn't write anything under this one. There were no words left to add. The investigation didn't go away. Anna heard reports through Peter, who now visited in careful silence. Rangers were expanding their search. Camera traps were being installed along trails. Drones were flying near known snaring zones. "If they get curious about your land," Peter said gently, "they'll come with warrants." Anna nodded. "I know. You'll have to let them go eventually." "I don't know how." Peter looked at her, sadness in his eyes. You were always the one who knew when to let go. But Anna wasn't that person anymore. She watched Leo and Luma playing in the fields, tumbling in golden grass, trying to stalk each other like cubs in the wild. They were clumsy, yes, but growing stronger, smarter. She also saw their affection, how Leo nosed Kaya's ear before sleeping, how Luma always waited for Kaya before eating, how both cubs still followed her to the garden, content just to be near. They were not hers by birth, but they were hers. And she knew what the law would do: tag them, tranquilize them, relocate them, strip away what made him feel safe, what gave their days rhythm and light. And if they didn't adapt, they'd be euthanized, quietly, efficiently, for safety. Anna sat at her kitchen table that night, lit only by a lantern. Outside, she heard the soft shuffle of paws, Leo, coming to sleep under the window, as he did every evening. She opened her journal one more time. They're not wild anymore, but they're not pets either. They are a story between two worlds, one I wasn't brave enough to write. Until now. Then she looked out into the dark. She would protect them, even if it meant standing against everything she once helped build. The infection came on slowly. At first, Kaya simply limped, favoring her rear leg again, the same one that had healed weeks before. Anna assumed it was an old strain flaring up. But within days, the swelling worsened. Kaya stopped eating. She lay in the shade with her head low and eyes dull. When Anna lifted her paw, she found the flesh hot and tender, the skin beginning to crack. Antibiotics had little effect. The wound began to smell. By the fourth day, Anna knew she couldn't wait. She called Peter, but it wasn't him who arrived, it was David. David Sihulu, director of the Ingala Wildlife Rescue Station, and one of the last people on Earth Anna wanted to see standing at her gate with a weathered leather bag and an unreadable expression. They had worked together years ago, once shared grant proposals and field tents and stubborn dreams about better policies for human-wildlife coexistence. But when Anna disappeared from the circuit after her daughter's death, she stopped replying to his messages. Now he was here, and somehow, he knew. He stepped inside, glanced at Leo and Luma sleeping beside Kaya, and said nothing for a long time. Then, gently, "You didn't call me for her leg." Anna swallowed. "No." He crouched beside Kaya, touched her forehead, and inspected the wound in silence. "You've been giving her doxycycline?" 3 days. No response. David sighed. "She'll need IV fluids. Possibly surgery to drain the infection. But first, she has to be moved." Anna bristled. "You know I can't separate her." "You have to. They won't understand. They've never been without her." David looked up, his voice soft but heavy. "Anna, those are lion cubs. Not puppies. Not children. Lions imprint on their pride. But they're not meant to see a dog as their mother." Anna stared out the window, where Leo was now awake, pawing sleepily at Luma's ear. "And yet, they do." David stood slowly. "The longer they bond to humans, or dogs, the harder it will be to rewild them. They'll be seen as behavioral risks, potential threats. Cubs like that get classified as unsuitable for return. And if they can't be socialized into sanctuary prides, we both know what happens." Anna turned away. David's voice softened. "But sometimes there are exceptions." She turned back slowly. "What kind?" "If the animals remain with a consistent handler. If they're proven safe in controlled conditions. If their surrogate can maintain a role, but from a distance. I've seen cases where an unconventional bond saved them. But it has to be done carefully. Legally. Quietly." Anna's voice cracked. "You'd help me do that? I can't make it official. But I can keep the door from closing." A long silence passed between them. Then David added, "You're not the only one who's lost something, Anna, but you're one of the few who's still trying to give something back." They moved Kaya to the guest house that afternoon. Anna cleared out the old sitting room, laid down blankets, and set up a drip line while David sedated Kaya gently. Leo and Luma sensed something was wrong before anything began. Luma followed every movement, mewling, while Leo growled low at David, nothing dangerous, but protective. Anna knelt beside them, just for a little while. She whispered, "She needs to get better." But when they carried Kaya to the separate building, the cubs lost all sense of calm. Luma howled, sharp and high, like the scream of a baby bird fallen from the nest. Leo clawed at the door when Anna shut it behind her, roaring in short, sharp bursts that echoed against the stone walls. It wasn't anger, it was anguish. That night, no one slept. Leo refused to eat. Luma lay near the door, breathing heavily, not moving. The house rang with their cries. From across the yard, Anna could hear Kaya too, letting out low, hoarse howls, calling back. Her voice grew ragged before sunrise, fading to a broken whine. When Anna stepped into the guest house at dawn, Kaya's eyes were red and rimmed with exhaustion. But she tried to stand when she heard the cubs outside. No one taught Kaya how to be a mother to lions. Anna whispered to herself, and yet her heart knew exactly how. She sat beside Kaya, stroking her head as tears welled in her eyes. By the third day, David returned with supplies, wound wash, IV fluids, and a digital thermometer. He paused in the doorway of the guest house, watching Anna rinse Kaya's paw with saline as Kaya winced but didn't resist. "You know," he said, "most people wouldn't risk jail time for a dog and 2 wild animals." "I'm not most people," Anna replied, not looking up. David smiled sadly. "No, you're not." He crouched beside her and helped secure a bandage. Then his tone turned serious. "They can't stay forever. The department's circling. They've been tracking collar signals and behavioral reports from the southern corridor. Any anomaly gets attention." Anna's shoulders tightened. "You have 2 options," he said. "You can try to integrate them into a monitored pride before they hit adolescence, or you negotiate a soft custody arrangement." "What does that mean?" "It means you let us tag them. Let them move to the sanctuary. But under your watch. You visit regularly. You help guide their adaptation. It's not motherhood, but it's still connection." Anna didn't answer for a long time. She simply kept cleaning Kaya's wound. "I'll think about it," she said finally. David rose. You don't have long." That night, Anna let the cubs into the guesthouse. She hadn't planned to. She knew it would undo the detachment training. She knew it might make things worse later. But when she opened the door, the moment unfolded like instinct. Leo rushed to Kaya first. Licking her face furiously, Luma nestled under her chin, letting out a long, broken purr. Kaya whined, high and soft, like a song only her cubs would understand. They curled around her like they always had. Anna watched from the doorway, one hand over her heart. And later, when the moon rose high and quiet over the savannah, she sat down at the small desk in the guesthouse and wrote. "The law tells me I'm not their mother. That bonds like this are unnatural. But I've known grief. I've known absence. And what I see in their eyes, what I see in Kaya's, none of it is unnatural. It's the most natural thing I've ever witnessed." She closed the journal, kissed each cub on the head, and whispered, "One more night, then we do what's best. Even if it breaks me." The road to the sanctuary cut through the dry savannah like a pale scar, winding. Red-dusted, edged with thorn trees and tall grass swaying in the heat. Anna drove slowly, the sun rising behind her, her knuckles pale on the steering wheel. The trailer hitched to the back of the Land Rover held more than just 3 animals. It held the last fragile thread of her heart. In the back seat, Kaya lay resting, her head between her paws. Her breath came slow, shallow. The infection had cleared, but age was catching up. Her joints ached, her movements had dulled, but her eyes still tracked every sound, especially the rustling of the 2 lion cubs. No, not cubs anymore, young lions, nearly a year old. Leo's shoulders had thickened, his coat golden and glossy. Luma had grown sleek and quick, her eyes always alert. They pressed close to Kaya during the ride, occasionally nuzzling her fur or licking the air near her face, as if to reassure themselves she was still there. Anna watched them in the rearview mirror. Every few minutes, she blinked back tears. She had made the decision a week earlier, after a long night staring at the stars and the quiet rise and fall of Kaya's breath. The sanctuary, Ulabambe, specialized in transitional spaces, part wild, part managed, designed for animals who fell between worlds. Those raised by humans, or orphaned too young to learn pride behavior in the wild. It wasn't a cage, it wasn't a zoo, it was freedom, with a watchful hand. And they'd agreed to take Kaya too. The director, bless her, had said, "If she's family, she comes." That morning, Anna packed Leo's small leather collar and sewed a scrap of Kaya's old blanket into the inside. A scent marker, a comfort. She tucked it into the canvas pouch that would hang on his neck during the transition period. Then she wrapped Kaya in a light sheet and lifted her gently into the trailer, where straw and thick blankets waited. She didn't say goodbye, not yet. 3 months later, the sanctuary air smelled of dust and sun and something wild Anna hadn't breathed in for months. The kind of scent that lived on fur and heat and memory. A staff member met her at the gate and led her to the observation ridge, a raised wooden platform overlooking the northern glade. Below, Rolling fields stretched toward copiers where leopards once slept and impalas flicked their tails at flies. "They're down there," the woman said, "by the baobab tree." Anna stepped forward, leaning her arms on the railing. There they were. Leo, larger now, strong, his frame that of a near-adult male. Mane starting to emerge in coarse streaks. Luma, quick and sharp-eyed, rubbing against his side, and lying between him like a queen on a throne of sunlit grass, Kaya. Anna's breath caught in her chest. Kaya didn't stand anymore. She couldn't. Her hips had given way weeks earlier. But she could still lift her head. She could still watch her cubs. And as Anna called out softly, once, a gentle Leo, Luma, both lions lifted their heads instantly. Then they ran. No hesitation, no confusion, just recognition. They bounded up the ridge. Paws thudding the earth, golden fur blazing in the sun. At the edge of the platform, Leo let out a deep, joyful chuff. Luma purred, a sound like thunder wrapped in silk. Anna dropped to her knees. They pressed their bodies against the railing, tails flicking, heads butting gently against her hands. She buried her face in their fur, breathing them in, earth, sweat, and something familiar and ancient. Behind them, slowly, Kaya stirred. She didn't run, but she raised her head and watched. Her eyes clear, and when Anna looked up, their gazes met. It was the same look Anna remembered from the night her daughter was born. That fierce, unspoken pride. That soft, aching love. She went down the ramp, crossing the open space the staff had cleared for her visit. As she approached, Kaya's eyes followed every step. When Anna knelt beside her, Kaya nuzzled her nose into Anna's palm and closed her eyes. Anna whispered, "You did it, girl. You raised lions." Leo curled on one side of Kaya, Luma on the other, their bodies pressed against her flanks, their heads tucked beneath her chin. Anna reached into her satchel and pulled out the photograph. It had been taken the day before they left, the three of them asleep under the porch in a puddle of afternoon sun. Kaya in the middle, paws splayed, Luma curled at her chest. Leo stretched across her hind legs. Different species, but one body, one breath. She'd framed it in soft leather and carried it everywhere since. Anna held it in front of Kaya, and for a second, she could have sworn the old dog smiled. The sanctuary director approached quietly behind her. "They've stayed close to her every day," she said. "They hunt in the enclosed zones. They play with the others. But at night, they return to her side." Anna nodded, tears catching in her throat. "They know who their mother is. They'll outlive her," the director said softly, "but I think she's given them what they need to survive." That evening, as the sun sank behind the distant hills, Anna sat beneath the baobab with Kaya's head in her lap. Leo lay beside them, tail curled over his nose. Luma rested her head across Kaya's shoulder. No words passed between them. There was no need. Love didn't need language, didn't need species. It only needed a heart that had once been broken, and a reason to heal. And as the shadows stretched long over the golden grass, Anna Morgan smiled for the first time in a long time. Not because the pain had vanished, but because, at last, it had been turned into something new. Final message. Love doesn't need words. It doesn't need shared blood or matching skin. It only needs a broken heart. And a reason to mend.
Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please comment 1. And if you didn't, just hit like. See you in the next videos.